Our lead story of the day is regarding FBI agents arresting a Massachusetts Air National Guardsman, Jack Teixeira, at a home in Massachusetts on Thursday in connection with a trove of classified documents that have been leaked online in recent months. Now, we're going to get really into it, but let's see Merrick Garland, U.S. Attorney General, speaking of this news. Let's roll it.
The Justice Department arrested Jack Douglas Teixeira in connection with an investigation into alleged unauthorized removal, retention, and transmission of classified national defense information. Teixeira is an employee of the United States Air Force National Guard. FBI agents took Teixeira into custody earlier this afternoon without incident. He will have an initial appearance at the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts. I want to thank the FBI, Justice Department prosecutors, and our colleagues at the Department of Defense for their diligent work on this case. This investigation is ongoing. We will share more information at the appropriate time. Thanks, everyone.
We continue to review a variety of factors as it relates to safeguarding classified materials. This includes examining and updating distribution lists, assessing how and where intelligence products are shared, and a variety of other steps. I would say, though, that it is important to understand that we do have stringent guidelines in place for safeguarding classified and sensitive information. This was a deliberate criminal act, a violation of those guidelines. And so, again, I think that's important to understand. Now, we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that people who have a need to know when it comes to this kind of information have access to that.
Well, there you go, folks. They ended up getting the guy. And to give you a little bit more information about all this, as you saw, Attorney General Merrick Garland said that Teixeira, who's only 21, by the way, this kid just literally ruined his entire life. I don't even know what the penalty, or I'd imagine it's prison time, federal prison time for what he did here, how long that is. Well, he's being investigated for the alleged unauthorized removal, retention, and transmission of classified national defense information. I don't know what this kid was thinking, folks. Teixeira, who joined the Air National Guard in September 2019, held the highest level security clearance granted by the federal government for top secret information, according to an internal Department of Defense email reviewed by Fox News. At 21 years old, he had the highest level security clearance granted by the federal government. Wow. His security clearance and access to classified government systems has since been revoked, according to an internal government document. I mean, I'm curious to see the studies of the development of the human brain, because there's a lot of talks that the brain is developing slower than what it was prior in terms of specifically the frontal lobe. And if anybody does like sociology studies or psychiatry or psychology just in general and the studies that are there, send them to the baldbradshow@gmail.com. Let me see some of these studies. I'll do some research myself as well, because when the frontal lobe hasn't fully developed, you're actually incapable of determining the actions that you're doing now and the ramifications and the consequences they'll have of you in the future. So very similar, you have this 21-year-old that has this highest level security clearance granted by the federal government, and he's just leaking documents on this Discord. And if you're unfamiliar what a Discord is, it's basically mostly used by gamers. It has worked its way out to other platforms and moderators that like to run similar shows like we do here on the Bald Brad Show, where they can have a community together and they could talk about stuff very similar to Reddit or kind of like a live chat. But Discord is mostly used by gamers to talk with one another and then play the game together as well. But it's a separate kind of third party software. I don't know what else you would call it, just software. And he was leaking documents, I guess, on there, which you would have to think, right? Somebody that has a top secret clearance, you would think that you would have the intelligence to know that the government would be able to catch you when you're posting it on Discord, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody have top level security clearance that goes, oh, no, we would not expect that to happen? Baffling as hell, man. Teixeira was mostly stationed at Otis Air National Guard Base as a member of the 102nd Intelligence Wing. He was promoted to Airman First Class last July, according to the unit. I'd imagine this kid's extremely smart, by the way. The FBI, not for what he did, clearly, but I think his intelligence level has to be pretty high if you're getting this security clearance. The FBI began surveilling Teixeira in connection with the leaks before Thursday, but were forced to accelerate their plans to arrest him after the New York Times identified the dude on Wednesday evening, a source briefed on the investigation told Fox News. The New York Times reported named Teixeira as a leader of a Discord group called Thug Shaker Central that consisted of roughly 20 to 30 young men. I wouldn't necessarily take that name as I would take it meaningless, basically. If you look at a lot of gamers, again, I use Discord when I play video games with my friends. There's a lot of chat rooms that you could put in there and different rooms. Almost think of like lobbies that everybody can go into that are separated from one another so that you're not all in like one room screaming at one another. For example, if somebody might be playing one video game, then that channel might be called Raid RS or something. Like you're just making up the title of the chat room. So everybody's in there talking with one another over mics. Then there's another chat room where everybody's in there playing a whole different video game and talking amongst each other. That way you don't have the interference of both of them happening at the same time. So gamers will label these chats anything that they want. So could there be something behind the name of Thug Shaker Central? Sure. I doubt it. Teixeira allegedly started sharing classified documents with a private group in recent months, but the leaks gained wider attention after another member shared them in a public forum, according to the report. Investigators don't believe that the case ends with Teixeira and are looking at others who may be involved. I mean, maybe start with the other 20 or 30 members that are in a Discord. And are any of these classified documents about aliens? That's all I want to know. If you're going to sit there and take one for the team, why don't you release that stuff, okay? I'm not for releasing classified documents, folks. I just want to be clear about that. But if you were to do it, at least make it good about aliens. You know, give us something here. The National Guard said in a statement, it is aware of the alleged role a Massachusetts Air National Guardsman may have played in the recent leak of highly classified documents. Again, that comes from the Pentagon. The Pentagon were scrambling, folks. They didn't know what the hell to do, especially after all these classified documents have been found with Mike Pence, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and others, and then in the streets of Ireland as well, which we covered in yesterday's episode. I mean, classified documents are just laying everywhere, and at this point, actually on the streets of different countries as well. So the National Guard takes this issue very seriously, they say, and will support investigators, the National Guard said in a statement. National security is our foremost priority, and any attempt to undermine it compromises our values and degrades trust among our members, the public, allies, and partners. Folks, we've talked about this so many times where you have this massive debacle take place, and it keeps happening multiple times, but then they come out with a statement of like, we take this seriously. But it keeps happening. So it's how serious can you possibly take it if it keeps happening? And I'm sorry, but when you're saying that you're taking classified documents and our national security at the utmost seriousness, and you're letting China fly a spy balloon, which you knew about from mainland China, fly all the way across the globe through the United States to gather their intelligence, and then you shoot it down when it's done gathering it and sending it to China, I just don't believe you when you say our national security is our number one issue here. Like, how are you going to allow that to happen? Let me know if I'm wrong. Pentagon Press Secretary, you got General Pat Ryder, called the leaks a deliberate criminal act. I would agree with that, saying that distribution lists for classified information are being reviewed. Quote, we entrust our members with a lot of responsibility at a very early age. I mean, now he's bringing up the fact, again, this kid's 21. I shouldn't say kid, he is a grown man. But again, the development of the brain really doesn't happen till 25, 26. So there could be some talks here of, hey, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be allowing 21-year-old kids, 26 or lower, to be handling classified documents. He could be a freaking genius for all I know. But then there also is the conversation of, well, somebody could have leaked this 26 and after. I'm just bringing up conversation, some things that we should be thinking about. I don't really have an answer for you. Because like I said, no matter who you are, you want to leak something, you're going to leak it. In the same way, if somebody's going to commit a heinous crime, they're going to commit a heinous crime. It's very tough to stop this stuff. You've received training, and you will receive an understanding of the rules and requirements that come along with those responsibilities, and you are expected to abide by those rules, regulations, and responsibility. It's called military discipline, and in certain cases, especially when it comes to sensitive information. I mean, how about throwing in that letter? So you had the Department of Deputy Secretary of Defense, Kathleen Hicks, warned Pentagon employees with this memo that I just read to you, or at least a piece of it. How about putting in there like the severity of the prison time that you're going to get, like life in jail maybe? That might deter people from doing it, that's for sure. Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks sent a memo to Pentagon officials on Tuesday warning employees against leaking classified information or downloading classified documents from unclassified sources. So we're going to see what comes of this. Again, I don't have much information exactly what's in those classified documents, hence they're classified. But they're saying that the leaked documents mainly concern the Russia invasion of Ukraine, but also included intelligence of China, the Middle East, Israeli spies, spy agency Mossad, and world leaders. So I don't know if there's anything crazy. One thing I'm hearing is one of the documents, again, take this as a grain of salt, folks. I try to get as much information as I can. It's tough to find sometimes. They're saying that we have special forces, boots on the ground in Ukraine. And if you watch yesterday's episode, we did talk about it briefly. But I mean, you have a kid here, 21, that leaks something that could potentially trigger a world war. Russia could be pissed here going, whoa. You're saying you don't have boots on the ground. Now you're throwing special forces and supporting Ukraine. Not just are you supporting them with military grade weaponry, but now you're supporting them by having boots on the ground with massively trained military assets like our special forces. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section below, folks. How do you stop something like this? I mean, really, how do you do? I mean, the only thing I can think of is, unfortunately, setting an example with this 21-year-old guy and putting him away in prison for a long time so everybody else gets the message. You hate to see it, but you shouldn't be doing that type of stuff. And you don't want somebody to lose and ruin their entire life over some classified documents that might not be that big of a deal. Again, I don't know what's inside them, but let me know, again, what you think about all this. Maybe my thinking is wrong. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.